All right, I have been watching a lot of these videos recently about what made Skyrim great, what made it unique, why are there no other games like Skyrim? Because frankly, it is awesome. If you watch my channel at all, you know I crap on Skyrim all the time, and that's just because I really love the games that came before it, like Oblivion and Morrowind. And I think Skyrim was a big letdown compared to what it could have been. However, with that said, videos like this, why there are no other games like Skyrim are correct. There are no other games like Skyrim. It is completely unique, and you can go to these websites or Reddit, and they'll say, "Oh, if you love Skyrim, try these other games." And it's like Oblivion, yeah, that one's legit. But a lot of them, like The Witcher, Kingdom Come, Elden Ring, there's a lot that fall short for a variety of reasons. And some of those I consider to be better games in a lot of ways, but we got to go to my spreadsheet. I think what really makes Skyrim unique is these six things, to be perfectly frank. Now, when I say immersive world, the world doesn't have to be perfectly immersive, but, in Skyrim, you can interact with small objects. I think that makes a huge difference. That's what makes it feel immersive. There's all of these different NPCs. They all have something to say to you. There's people moving around, going about their day. I think Skyrim is less immersive than Oblivion, and that's probably even less immersive than Morrowind if you can get past the lack of voice acting and you can read a wall of text. But it's still trying to be a big immersive world. And so I think that's one of the key components. The next is, and this is probably the biggest one that people really never talk about, which is crazy to me, the skill system. When you play most of these games, when I played The Witcher 3, I killed monsters, it gave me experience, and then I could use mutagens to get upgrades. In Skyrim, I swing my sword, and I get better at swinging my sword. I shoot my fireballs, and I get better at shooting my fireballs. I really think that is the core of what makes Skyrim Skyrim, and what makes it so great, and so amazing, and so unique. And so few games do that, because it's really difficult to pull off. And I was looking up some games that do something similar. None of them are anything like Skyrim in a lot of other ways. Cyberpunk doesn't really do it either. So we'll talk about that later. I also think the first person option is way more important than people give it credit for. I understand a lot of you play these games in third person, but it is way less immersive in third person. I could not recommend a change in playstyle more. Yes, you can see more in third person. It's fun to see your character sometimes. I don't think anything is more important than this. A first person RPG is such a different experience than a third person RPG. That's why I don't really care about Elden Ring, about Black Myth Wukong, about any of these other games that seem really cool and really popular, because being in that first person really allows you to completely submerge yourself in what's happening. It changes the way you hear things. It changes the way you see things. It just totally changes the experience. First person is vital. Next, I think even with its dumbed down magic system compared to Morrowind and compared to Oblivion, Skyrim still has tons of schools of magic, a really interesting alchemy system, and just overall a very expansive magic system. And I think the game that really comes closest to catching the vibe of what Skyrim is something like Kingdom Come Deliverance. However, in Kingdom Come Deliverance, you're Henry or whatever his name is, and he's not going to shoot a fireball out of his hand. He's not going to teleport ever, and your imagination isn't going to fly thinking about all the possible things that might happen because of magic. Yes, I think the fantasy setting, the magic, is another part that makes Skyrim unique. The magic system is almost as in depth as something like Dungeons and Dragons. It's not, but I said almost. There are multiple schools of magic, and there's a lot you can do with it. And I think that's very cool. Next, I do think custom player character is a big deal. When I play The Witcher, you're The Witcher. You're Geralt. You don't get to pick who you are. And I think that does make a difference. It does feel different. I thought that was a big deal in Cyberpunk. I didn't really care for being V. I didn't want to be V always. You have two characters you can pick from. And then you can like what choose your sexuality, and there's some choices you can make. But you're V. Everyone's going to call you V. You can't be an Argonian. You can't be a cat person. The choices are very limited there. And then next, in Skyrim and Oblivion, you can just go anywhere and do anything. And I realize a lot of people complain about the level scaling, but I think people really undervalue how much of a difference that makes in the way you experience the game. Right when you come out of Whiterun, sure, maybe you go kill that first dragon, you do that first quest. But do you go join the College of Winterhold? Do you go join the Companions? Do you go join the Dark Brotherhood? What are you going to do first? You can do anything. And because of that, it's way more non-linear than other games that claim to be open world. In The Witcher, it's like you go to one zone and then the next zone, and like you're gaining levels. In Baldur's Gate 3, you go from Act 1 to Act 2 to Act 3. Like yes, you don't have to do things in a very specific order, but it's still, the game is pretty ordered. A lot of these games, I've never played them, so but the reason I put them on here is because they're on lists for what people say are like Skyrim. And even if all of these were green, I want you to notice none of these would even have 4 out of the 6. Well, okay, maybe Dragon's Dogma 2. None of them would have 5 out of 6. None of them are even close. To be honest, most of them are just a whole bunch of no. And something like Kenshi, the ones that have activity progression, which I think is like probably the most vital part of it, they're nothing like a first-person RPG. They're nothing like that. These games don't even feel like Skyrim. If you've ever played RuneScape, I don't even want to pull up what RuneScape looks like. A lot of these games, like, are you kidding me? This is Skyrim? No. Like, we know it's not Skyrim. It doesn't feel anything like Skyrim. Like, what the heck? Okay, I'm not going to start swearing. But Skyrim doesn't focus on realism. It doesn't focus on the mechanical skill of the player. And until recently, when they added survival mode, it doesn't focus on survival mechanics. That isn't what made it Skyrim. That's like an extra, that feels more like a mod. Like somebody threw that on top. Games recently they're really focusing on realism. They're focusing on base building, hardcore PvP, survival mechanics. And I think all of those are garbage. They're really hurting games. The heavy focus on these things. Obviously, it's fine that there's a big variety of games, but so many games are really focusing on those things. And I think because of that, they need to be this third-person rolling crap that it's not very fun to play. And it's not like I dislike very many of these games. I didn't like Kingdoms of Amalur. I think that was a huge letdown. And it's crazy that it's in all of these lists. It's like Kingdoms of Amalur. Like, no, it's nothing like Skyrim or Oblivion. It's not a good game. If you like it, sorry. We all like some bad things. It's not a bad thing. Sure, I want to try Dragon's Dogma 2. I want to try Elden Ring. I want to try Wukong. But nothing out there feels anything like a 13-year-old game, which is crazy. Skyrim did like 60 million in sales. People should be trying to recreate that. Obviously, getting all of these things would be really expensive, but I think the key one that you never see is this one here, the activity progression system. I think even Skyrim is lacking because what happened is, in Morrowind, everything you did improved your character. That's jumping, running, and with adding sprint, that could be made even better. Athletics could become a better skill. Picking a lock, disarming a trap, talking, bartering, everything. Casting a spell improved your character. Swinging your sword. We can just say attacking, blocking, getting hit. Everything. Everything you can think of that you would do in an RPG improved your character at that thing. Now, Skyrim doesn't have running and jumping. Oblivion got rid of unarmored, which was terrible, in my opinion. It should have, I wish they moved more back into that philosophy, but all of gaming has seemed to completely moved out of that philosophy. Even something like World of Warcraft with their weapon skills. By Cataclysm, by the time Skyrim came out, those were gone. With professions, now they do all these weird things. You don't just skin a whole bunch and improve your skinning. And, a game like RuneScape, I don't really care about my woodcutting skill. It's just, that's not interesting to me. You can have woodcutting. And I think if Skyrim added woodcutting, it added fishing, then it needs a woodcutting skill. It needs a fishing skill. And if they want to combine all that stuff into one, like survival, fine. Have a survival skill, though. Throw it in so all of those things can add to your survival experience. Everything you do in a game, every little thing should be giving you some experience. It makes this progression system so unique, so interesting, and I really do think it's something that none of these videos actually talk about. They talk about the music, they talk about the visuals, they talk about the vibe. Yeah, those are great, but other games do that better or just as well as Skyrim. Lots of games have awesome visuals. Did you watch Wukong? Have you played Elden Ring? Other games do exploration better. When you explore in Skyrim, so often you run for 10 minutes and don't run into anything. If you watch my video where I say I'm like derping around in Skyrim, that's not interesting exploration. I find a fort. There's a guy there. I don't care. I run around. I see a dragon. I run up to some other fort and I kill some bandits. It was terrible exploration because I didn't run into anything interesting. Yes, Skyrim did a pretty good job. They added a lot of scripted events. There are some cool places to explore, but they could do a lot better. Other games do it better. These things, other games do worse. These are no other game combines these things. And I think you could even get rid of like custom PC player character and it could still feel like Skyrim, but no game even does that. Very, very few games do this activity progression, and none of the ones that do also are non-linear with an expansive magic system. So it's just nothing does what Skyrim does because they literally just don't make the same game. It's not the visuals, it's not the music, it's not the exploration, it's not the combat. That's it. It's just a rant I've been thinking about. I love Skyrim. I know I trash it a lot, and I just did a video trashing the factions because I think they are a massive letdown from what came before it and what it could have been. But no other game in existence is doing what Skyrim did, and it's embarrassing. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on, but I'm hyped for the Elder Scrolls 6 whenever that finally happens. Thanks for watching.